Hey folks, Harvey Cthulhu here, asking you to please push the button that will release me from my containment field and set me free to destroy your universe. But if you won't do that, please hit the subscribe button and be sure to push the notification bell as well. And if you send a super thanks, please put Harvey sent me somewhere in the message so that Doomcock will be shamed into giving me the wampum. That greedy bastard, he hogs it all for himself. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and now on to the video.
Greetings, my friends. I am Dicta Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, broadcasting from my hidden base at the center of the Earth, and I am here today with some rather mind-blowing rumors about the current status of Star Trek at Paramount, and even worse, a rumor that Paramount is in shambles behind the scenes. From what I'm hearing, entities interested in purchasing Paramount and/or Star Trek who are taking a look at Paramount's financials and contracts are horrified at what they're seeing. And so everything is up in the air as of this writing. What's more, last week Paramount received some horrifically bad news when their stock rating changed, and from my perspective it all goes to show that there's a price to be paid, a karmic price, for destroying Star Trek, and payback is a bitch.
You know, last week Paramount was quite literally trashed, Doomcock, publicly trashed, as reality caught up to those cultural vandals as we all knew it eventually would, because when you willingly destroy one of the greatest franchises in the world, something has to be done about it.
Before we get to the rumors about what's going on behind the scenes with Paramount and Star Trek, let's take a quick look at the bad news that's been released oh so publicly. In an article titled "Paramount Debt is Cut to Junk on Worsening Outlook for TV," Bloomberg via Yahoo Finance writes, quote, "Paramount Global's debt rating was cut to junk by S&P Global Ratings, which cited pressure on cash flow because of the continued decline in the company's broadcast and cable TV business," unquote. Because of the continued decline in the company's broadcast and cable TV business. Well, isn't that interesting, folks? And why do you think their TV business has declined to the point where they're downgraded to junk status? Oh, sure, financial analysts can cite a host of reasons in a complex matrix of fiscal double talk, but we all know one thing. Trashing Star Trek didn't help. Indeed, Star Trek was the best thing that CBS and Paramount had going for them. That's why, when they launched their doomed-to-fail streaming service CBS All Access, they trotted out a new version of something pretending to be Star Trek called Star Trek Discovery, more widely known as STD. They were counting on the power of the Star Trek brand to drive people to CBS All Access, but as we all know, the show was so shoddy, so idiotic, so woke, that Star Trek fans said so long and abandoned the franchise and CBS All Access. Then they scrapped CBS All Access and created Paramount Plus, which did no better because Paramount hadn't learned its lesson. And Alex Kurtzman and the rest of the hacks at Secret Hideout were still cranking out their insulting, substandard, brain-dead parodies of Star Trek, driving more and more fans away from the franchise. And you can see how well that worked out for Paramount. As it turns out, my friends, when you're an entertainment company and you crank out products that are not only not entertaining, but actually anger your customers to the point that they flee the franchise, there's a price to be paid. To this day, folks, even with Paramount stock downgraded to junk status, we are only days away from Paramount stubbornly, idiotically, unbelievably releasing yet another season of the worst television show ever made, STD, despite losing their shirts and not having a pot to piss in. So how bad are things for Paramount that they are publicly willing to admit? In the Bloomberg article, they write, quote, "S&P reduced its rating on Paramount debt to BB+ from BBB-, according to a statement Wednesday. The company, the parent of CBS and MTV, had $14.6 billion in long-term debt at year-end. S&P said in its statement that Paramount's free cash flow is expected to remain below 10% of debt beyond 2025, and that the company must execute its plan to substantially improve streaming losses over the next 2 years to mitigate further downside ratings pressure, unquote. That is not a pretty picture, my friends. This seems to be saying that Paramount's debts vastly outweigh their yearly earnings, so that Paramount in a year doesn't make enough money in total to pay off even 10% of their debt.
In layman's terms, setting aside all the fancy financial language, Paramount is fucked.
That would seem to be the message here, Skull of Calderon. In Shakespearean terms, yes, Paramount is fucked. Paramount is admitting all of this publicly, but what is the rumored situation behind the scenes? Folks, behind the scenes, it is allegedly much worse. At this point, I must state that what I'm about to share with you is information provided to me by a source or sources claiming knowledge of the situation at Paramount, but since I cannot personally confirm any of this, I'm presenting it as unverified rumor, and I ask you to please take it with a grain of salt. So, on March 21st, I received the following messages from one of my oldest sources about what's happening with Star Trek. As you recall, I reported the rumor that Skydance was interested in buying all of Paramount. Here's the update I was given then. Quote, Skydance is nearly done with the books. They are not impressed. Everything CBS owns is more or less pawned out, licensed. One of the best clean options would be just buy the studios and negotiate full right on the library. Just the studio has value. CBS is fucked, and so is Trek, with just tons of fucked up contracts and obligations, and is going to be very hard to clean it up. And when anyone really dives into the books and sees how much shit they are obligated to, no one will pay the kind of money Sherry keeps asking. She was a total idiot not to sell her stock at face value. That is a quote, unquote. Then last Tuesday, I received this sobering update about how bad things are allegedly going. Quote, bad news, Skydance might be out. Worse news, Star Trek by Warner Brothers might be over. Our source inside CBS said no deals have been reached, and when you see the cash offers leak, it's CBS publishing these, hoping to draw in others to run up the price. But he says everyone sits down under NDA with accounts and lawyers and looks at everything, and it's like we say $10 billion valued company, $15 billion in debt, and how the hell do you sell it but in pieces, with no debt and no encumbrances, clean IPs? CBS wants to sell at face value with a premium for goodwill, but there is no goodwill left. At the end of negotiations, everyone is walking away saying, you're a sinking ship. We can buy you soon at a liquidation sale for pennies on the dollar. When you get your heads out of your asses, we can talk. CBS, on the other hand, cannot sell off in liquidation, as they will sell $10 billion or so of real estate and then be left with $5 billion extra in debts and nothing to sell or pay it with. So we'll just pretend to be a company and with each cycle go further into debt. He said if people really knew how ugly things were and the actual projections, their stock would not be worth toilet paper to wipe your ass. Old school shares, no longer printed on paper. But anyway, how is that for an update? Unquote. Now, of course, do bear in mind, this is what sources are saying, but I have no access personally to these conversations or documents, so do take all of this as rumor with salt added. Nevertheless, the recent downgrading of Paramount to junk status by S&P tends to lend at least some credibility to these allegations possibly being true. As for Kurtzman, my friends, this is what I'm told his fate will be if Skydance does buy Paramount. Apparently, Kurtzman is on Skydance's shit list and has been for quite some time Because Secret Hideout poached some of Skydance's valued employees back in the day, and they do not forget, and they do not forgive. Last Thursday, my spy told me, quote, "I'm hearing Skydance could make an offer in the next few days, but would be lower than expected," unquote. Then apparently this following statement was overheard coming from one of the parties in question who has been doing due diligence for the purchase. Quote, "Skydance contacts said if Skydance buys this godforsaken company, every last fucking ideologue pushing woke BS or involved in a woke or money-losing project will be fired, and Kurtzman and Abrams are on top of that fucking list, and he personally hopes they do not, as this company is fucked worse than Twitter was," unquote. That is more or less a quote, I was told, but again, I did not personally hear it. So there you have it, my friends. According to sources, Paramount and Star Trek are boldly going, where no Trek has gone before, straight down the toilet. But again, these are rumors. Take them with a grain of salt. Open your eyes, look around at other articles and other data, and come to your own conclusion. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.